can you take a look at this picture of P43, page 3?
Yes.
And is this another photo of? Tell us what this shows.
No, it's water covering the surface of the garage.
And is the water that was depicted based on the time you took the picture or that your wife took the picture, was it merely on the concrete portion of the garage, or was it also penetrating or adding moisture to the sheetrock that's next to, above the concrete floor?
It penetrates the sheetrock.
Can you tell Judge Hoffman whether or not the house has any from the, let me withdraw that and ask it this way. Go to the next slide. Next page, please. Now, Jordan, first of all, can you tell us who the people are that are in the picture?
Oh, that's me shoveling the water, and that's Abby. That's Abby. Yeah.
And Abby's 3 years of age?
She is now, yeah.
Okay. And can you tell us what is it that's on the floor between between the driveway and the opening to the garage?
That was us attempting to hold back the flood, and so we bought, in addition to some pumps, we bought sandbags, and they were just attempting to keep the water out of the garage.
And so when heavy rain is coming, can you tell me whether or not what you're doing that's depicted in this picture, trying to push the water away, whether that's just happened in this instance, or something that when you're home and you know it's going to rain, you always try to counteract the water further damaging your house?
Well, we can't keep up with the water. So the water, even in a moderate rain, the home floods. The homes flood between 25 and 30 times. So this is essentially I think it's more like after a flood, I'm just kind of trying to get I'm spending the time to get the water out of the garage and away from the driveway. And that's just a regular kind of thing I've been doing throughout all these floods.
Jordan, can you tell Judge Hoffman whether or not the property whether a final grade was ever done by the El Chamis for the property?
It was not.
Next slide. Next page, please. Jordan, actually, before I ask you about this picture, you've indicated to the court that since the time the house was built, as I understood your testimony, flooded 25 to 30 times. Were your children at home during these instances when the house was flooding? Were you home?
Yes.
And what room is this? Can you describe for the court what this is a picture of?
That's the living room.
And is this one of the areas that your two infant children play or use?
Well, we try to keep them away from it, but they're kind of they do their own thing. So yeah, they play a little there, but they play pretty much everywhere. So we try to keep them out of the living room now.
And Jordan, on the frame of this, that's all the way to the left with the steps, is that the front of the house that we're looking at? I know you can't see all the way there, but are those the steps that go up to on the inside up to the front of the house? It's a landing.
Yes.
And so when the house is flooded 25 to 30 times, how far into these rooms does the water typically go?
It goes past the kitchen. It goes into the dining room. It goes in the office. It goes into the living room. It goes in even just partially now even to some of the secondary bedrooms. So pretty much, 60% of the house, maybe 50, I don't know.
And Jordan, on the left there, what is that? What is it that we're seeing that's rolled up?
That's a carpet, or it's a rug.
And has that rug been also been subject to water damage or water penetration?
Yeah, we've thrown that out. Yeah, we threw that. Yes. The answer is yes.
And so as a result, do you have that rug anymore, or were you required to discard it?
No, we threw it out.
Okay. And why did you throw it away, Jordan?
It's just a musty smell. It's just really unbearable in the living room. Like a lot of smell was coming from that rug, so we had to get it out of there.
And Jordan, can you tell Judge Hoffman whether the water in this room has also risen to the level of wetting or damaging the furniture itself? Like, for example, this sofa that we see illustrated in this picture?
Well, I don't know I don't know exactly to give you an accurate description, but what I do know is the hardwood buckles, and so the couches get like anchored off the ground, and then we have to like kind of move some of the boards so it flattens the couch out again. And so I think some damage has been done to the underside of the couches a little bit, but we've tried to like mitigate that where it doesn't do like, we don't just like leave it like kind of tilted up, off the ground.
So Jordan, can you describe for the court, when you say you took some steps to mitigate that with regard to the furniture, what kinds of things have you and Aaron done?
Well, like a lot of these loose boards here, what happens is the water gets underneath the hardwoods, and they essentially bow up. And so pretty much they bow up to where the hardwoods are almost like pointed to the ceiling. Like you can see an example of that close to the steps in the front, where they literally just two boards kind of shoot straight up in the air as it bows. And that was just kind of throughout the living room to where it really was a safety, becoming kind of a safety hazard. So,
Can we go to the next page, please, Rob? So, Jordan, can you tell us tell Judge Hoffman what this room is?
that's our office.
So this is Jordan. Do you mean do you have a separate office for your work as a realtor, or is this the office that before it was damaged you used to work from?
I use a home office.
And based on its current condition, are you able to still use this to do your business as a realtor?
No.
And do you see along the perimeter where there's no wood boards all the way to the left?
Yeah.
And can you tell Judge Hoffman what happened there?
Well, the water damage got so bad and the hardwoods got so deteriorated that they just kind of started separating. And then on the underneath the hardwoods is nails. And so we don't want loose boards around with the children, because like they kind of get into all that stuff, and the nails are kind of sticking straight down. So anything loose, for the most part, we try to remove, and we throw it out,
Next page, please, Rob. This is the last one. Let's see. For the 42. What? 42. Actually, let's, I apologize, Judge. Let's look at 97. That's not it. Okay. Sorry. Judge, if you just bear with me for 1 minute, I thought that photo there's another photo, but it's apparently not in this exhibit.
It was up there, Jonathan.
The photo of the, I'm talking about the photo of the kitchen.
Yeah, it was up there.
Yeah, it was up there. It was 402.
Okay, let's go back then. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see it on the screen. So Jordan, is this what you described before when you said that that it's necessary for you and your wife to take your pots and pans and any kind of plates and things from cooking and eating and bring those into the laundry room to go and wash them and clean them?
Yes, the dishwasher doesn't work because the island is lifted off the ground 4 or 5 inches, and so the dishwasher won't work. It doesn't flow correctly. It needs to be leveled, and the sink is also lifted off the ground, so we can't use the sink. It just fills up with, if we ever dump anything in there, it just starts smelling terribly in like a matter of a day. And so you can't use the sink water. You can't use the dishwasher.
And Jordan, can you tell us whether or not you've observed, not as an expert, as a layperson, have you observed any electrical issues related to the home?
Yes, once the home started flooding more, a lot of the electrical aspects went out. So the garage doors don't open and close. There's certain lights that, outlets that don't have charge. And so we just have to assess that more to find out the extent of the assembly with the water and how we can get all those electrical issues working.
And Jordan, can you tell Judge Hoffman whether or not the house has smoke detectors?
Yes, it does.
And are any of those smoke detectors malfunctioning?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. In the office and in Abby's room, so the bedroom, one of the secondary bedrooms.
And Jordan, can you tell Judge Hoffman whether or not you and Aaron have experienced problems with the plumbing in the house?
Yeah, so the hot water doesn't come on in the master it takes like 10 or 15 minutes. I think they needed to put a hot water heater on the left side of the home, but essentially it takes like 15 minutes to get hot water for showers. We don't even wait for the sink just because it's not going to sit there forever. And the tub, when we turn that tub on, it just doesn't, the water comes out of the spout, the water comes out of another area. It just kind of goes all over. So I'm not making that seem like that's a huge deal, but those are just a couple of the things.
Can you also tell us whether or not, we talked about electrical, we talked about plumbing. What about the HVAC system, the air conditioning in the house? Have there been issues with that?
Not really. That's been good. We've had AC, we've had heat.
Can you tell us with regard to the property itself outside of the house, the actual property, the front yard, the backyard? Has your family been able to use it since the time the house was constructed?
We haven't. It's been something that's been really upsetting because we bought that lot and it's almost an acre, and that's why we bought it. And we wanted to use that yard. We wanted to play out there, but it's not really. We just don't go outside. It's just not. It's not something we don't do. So.
Prior to the March 16, March 6, 2016 residential builder contract, can you tell me whether or not either Sam or Dylan Alchamy or both of them made demands that you give them payments from Nair Management?
Yes.
Okay. And
Did you say Meyer or Nair, man?
I'm sorry, what? Nair, N-I-R-E.
N-I-R-E.
And
Okay.
N-I-R-E. And Jordan, would you tell us, would you tell the judge, please, whether Nair Management, who owns Nair Management?
I do.
Okay. And have you signed an assignment in this case of your claims, the claims belonging to Nair Management against the Alchamis personally to yourself?
Yes.
And can we look at, let's start with P54. Do you recognize this check?
Yes.
And it says 4641 Royal Lane.
Yes.
And so was your company, Premier Marketing Group, one of the realtors or the sole realtor representing either the buyer or seller in that transaction?
Yes.
And was that a house that was associated with the Alchamis or with one of their investors?
I think it was his brother.
Okay. And so please describe for the court very briefly what happened in March of 2015, starting with the whatever work that you did that related to 4641 Royal Lane.
It was a lot in Preston Hollow, listed for 900 or so. And we found the buyer for the property. We found the buyer. He was a foreign man who wanted to build a home. And so we represented the buyer and the seller in selling the lot. It was a lot.
And so did you attend a closing associated with that transaction?
Yes.
And at that closing, did Sam Alchami's brother or whoever it was that was the authorized representative for the party that had hired you, did they sign a closing statement that indicated that they had owed you that you were entitled to a certain commission for your services on that closing?
Yes.
And tell us, please explain to the judge how it came about that after that closing, Nair Management wrote a $15,000 check to Dylan Alchami.
I was told to write Dylan Alchami a $15,000 check.
And who told you to write Dylan Alchami a $15,000 check?
Sam Alchami.
And did he ask you or did he tell you?
He told me.
And to your knowledge, was there any services or goods provided to Nair Management Company by Dylan Alchami to support his receiving a $15,000 payment as shown in P54?
No.
P59, call P59, please. I'm sorry, this was an earlier one. This is from, you'd see November 12th, 2014.
I see it.
Okay. And this one does not have a notation as to what transaction it was on, but do you have a recollection as to which property or which transaction this was associated with?
Yeah, that was 10011 Lenox Lane. It was a lot as well. It was a lot in Preston Hollow.
And were the Alchamis in some way involved in the ownership or acquisition, sale, or redevelopment of that address that you've mentioned?
No.
What was their involvement, if any, in that Lenox Lane property?
Well, I found the property on the market in 10 minutes. I let Sam know. I thought it was a great opportunity. It was a lot. It was like almost an acre and a half lot in Preston Hollow. And he saw that it was a good opportunity and he shared it with Salah, actually, who was on earlier. And Salah closed on the lot. And then, yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm not seeing what is the relevance of all of this testimony about these checks in terms of this residential property. I guess I'm not really following what we're doing here.
Sure, Your Honor. Just two aspects. One is we want to show a prior course of dealing. And secondly, we are suing to recover $112,000 in payments for which there was no value, separate and apart from all the other issues that were litigated. So it's part of it. Thank you, Judge. May I proceed?
But wouldn't the statute of limitations, though, have run on these?
They've never raised that as an affirmative defense. Joe, do you want?
Your Honor, I don't know that this has been pled. I was wondering the relevance as well. I'm trying to find the response to request for disclosure. I'm not sure what these damages are, if that's why they're showing this evidence.
I mean, this has never been brought up, so I'm just a little confused what we're doing.
Yeah, I'll ask Joe to check the pleading, but Your Honor, I will represent and I can show, because one of the exhibits is the 192, that this is all part of our disclosure as to damages in this case.
Okay.
I don't believe they pled statute of limitation defense, Your Honor. But I have to look at the plea to make sure that.
And have y'all pled this as what I understand kind of about how course of dealings, I guess, to try to establish some kind of special fiduciary relationship. It's very tangential, but I've just never heard this brought up before in an opening statement or anything about some past payments and related to something else. I thought this was just about a piece of property.
Your Honor, do we know what cause of action these allegations relate to? Because it's not in their breach of contract claim, and I'm just trying to find it myself in the pleadings.
What is the cause of action related to these payments?
Jonathan's going to have to answer that.
No, I couldn't hear what you said.
I don't have an answer for that, Jonathan. You'll have to answer that for the judge.
I don't have the, I'm sorry, Judge, I don't have the pleading in front of me. We can take it.
On the screen.
What?
I can put it on the screen if we're just looking for the pleading.
Okay. Go ahead.
1 second.
This is their most recent petition?
Yes, Your Honor, just one moment.
Is it in their disclosures, Mr. Ortiago?
It's certainly not jumping out at me, and that's why, and it's purely, I mean, this is really just for clarity. I'm just trying to figure out what cause of action the claim is for. I do recognize what Mr. Scott said, though, which is they are alleging recovery or seeking recovery of about 112 grand that apparently Mr. Zatoon's company had paid to one of the defendants. I'm just not sure under what theory of liability they're claiming that money.
Okay, I'm almost to their cause of action. Just one moment.
Okay, deceptive. It wouldn't be deceptive trade practices, right? That's all about the build. Breach of contract. Okay, fraudulent. That's not breach of contract, fraudulent liens, fraud. Okay, I don't see anything in fraud. Oh, wait.
Going too fast there. Yep.
Okay. I don't see, it's not a misapplication of trust funds. Civil RICO, I can't imagine it's that.
That's their last.
Your Honor, also, we would offer it for the purpose of cap busting on punitive damages, because this is, our position is this is theft.
But has that been pled?
Yes, we pled the cap busting and that their conduct involved fraud, and the 192 explicitly includes this in our disclosures right there.
Here's their 192. It shows 22,000 for money collected. That's the only part that I'm.
And the cap busting has to be in connection to whatever the cause of action that's alleged. It can't just be you're a felon on some unrelated matter and then you're entitled to a cap busting on some unrelated.
Your Honor, I would just point out that it shows additional sums received by Samuel and Dylan Elchami, Nair Asset Management payments, $112,000, supporting documentation, Exhibit 2.
But where is any of this pled? I just didn't see it in the pleadings.
Your Honor, like I said, I'm happy to print a copy of the pleading and address that with the court. But I'm sorry, I can't do it just looking at the screen while the witness is standing by. But whatever Your Honor wants to do in that regard.
Okay. Do you have much more with this witness, or?
I do have not a whole lot more, but I think we would run until whenever Your Honor was ready to break.
Okay. Let's move along from this. Why don't you do this? Let's go to a different topic, and then why don't you write a trial brief tonight for what this seems just totally out of left field to me, but maybe there is some basis that I'm just not seeing, but it seems like it's totally out of left field. I thought this was all the arguments, everything we've had countless hearings on this. It's all been about the house. It hasn't been about some payments 10 years ago or 7 years ago. So let's move along. Let's go to another topic and come back to this later.
Can I call up P20? Next page. Next page. Next page. So Jordan, can you take a look at what's been marked as P20.4, page 4?
Yes.
And can you, first of all, let's put aside the Nair management thing, because that's not yet been ruled on by the judge as to how that's going to be handled.
Well, Jonathan, I think it would be important to talk about those 2 checks that were towards the house. I think those are important to talk about.
Okay, well, let me actually address that, and then we'll go back to this for a second. So on June 7th, 2018, Jordan, did you write a check to Sammy Elchami?
Yes.
What was the amount of the check?
$14,500.
And was it drawn on a joint account you had with Aaron at Wells Fargo Bank?
Yes.
And at the time that you wrote the check, were there sufficient funds on deposit to cover that check that you had written?
Yes.
So was it your intention to write what has been described here by the other side as a hot check?
No.
So would you please explain to Judge Hoffman what happened? What is the reason why the check did not clear when it was presented by Sam Elchami at his bank?
We found out the amount, the cash to close to get out of the construction loan. We found that out in the preceding days from our permanent financing lender. We needed close to $60,000 to get, kind of get into the permanent financing loan. And at that point, we had to take those funds and get ready to, be ready to close.
And Jordan, at the time that, first of all, who had signatory authority on that Wells Fargo account in June of 2018? What's that?
Who has signature authority?
Yes.
Meaning who wrote the check?
Who had control of the account? Was it only you, or was it you and someone else?
I'd have to see the check.
Let me rephrase it so we can keep moving. Did Aaron have the ability to write checks or move money out of that account?
Yeah, it was a joint account.
Okay. And so who was it that moved money out of the account in order to fund the permanent financing closing?
My wife.
At the time that was done, were you aware that the $14,000 check to Sam El Chami was still outstanding?
I had no idea.
So when for the first time did you learn that there was an issue with regard to the $14,500 check?
So I think Sam called me maybe 2 weeks later, something like that.
And when he contacted you, was that by phone or by text or by email?
He contacted me by phone first, and when he called, I didn't really know what was going on. He was like upset about it, and evidently so. I think he was expecting that. So, and then he also texted me, I think, a couple weeks later, or maybe a month later. He texted me.
Mr. Zatun, you're talking really quiet. I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry, Your Honor.
Could you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, he called me and he was upset that the check didn't clear, and I said I didn't know it didn't clear. I don't look at my accounts that frequently. I really don't.
So Jordan, did you do this on purpose? Did you write a hot check, as they like to say?
No.
And when Sam El Chami first got in touch with him, did you make arrangements to replace that $14,000 $500 check with an alternative payment?
Yes, we gave him a check. We gave Dylan and Sam $56,750 after we wrote that check, and those checks cleared.
And so let's just clarify something for timing. When were the $56,750 in replacement checks given to the El Chami in relation to this June 7th date when the first check was written?
June 11th.
And did those two checks clear?
Yes.
Okay. And after those checks cleared, did the El Chamis get in touch with you with respect to the $14,000 $500 check that had been replaced with these two other checks 4 days later?
No.
But did you receive at some point in time an email from around this time from Dylan El Chami indicating that if you didn't also give them the $14,500 and make that good, that it was a felony and they were going to report you?
Yes.
Okay. And when was that, Jordan, in relation to June 11th, when you replaced those checks by giving them 57,000, was it 550 or 650?
50, something like that. 56,750.
Okay, so can you tell us, you've indicated in your testimony that on June 11th, you gave them close to $60,000 on good funds. And was the message from Dylan about they're going to report the earlier check that was replaced as a felony? Was that after June 11th when you had paid them that money or
Yeah,
before?
I got a text from Sam in July that he was sending me websites of felonies and the definition and all this stuff. And then I got an email from Dylan August 1st, a couple weeks later, saying my dad's going to file the check. This is a felony. Pretty much they were going to get the authorities involved, I think.
Now, Jordan, with regard to the $75,000 amount that they claimed was over and above the contract price of 507, did they ever credit you for the car, the 1-year-old Lexus that you signed over to Sammy El Chami and they sold?
No,
Did they ever credit you for any of the $56,750 that you paid them on June 11th, 2018?
no,
Did they ever credit you for the $40,000 final draw that they were paid by the bank on May 21st, 2018?
well, I mean, that was just the final draw. So there was no credits there, but that was the final draw and they got their final draw.
But let me ask it this way. Jordan, on the 75,000 that they claimed in the Dallas County property records was due on April 10th, let me just ask it directly. Did they collect more than $75,000 by June 1st by June 10th of 2018? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And tell us what happened on June 14th, 2018 at Sammy El Chami's residence on Bryn Mawr.
So we paid Sam all that money and he still wasn't releasing the lien. And so we went to his house, my wife was in the car with our daughter. And we wanted him to release the lien, and he had a promissory note drafted for additional money that we had never seen before. He had it drafted by his attorney. It's the first time we saw it. We showed up to his property, and he wasn't going to release the mechanics lien unless we signed this promissory note. And he also put a interest rate on the promissory note amount of 5%. And when I saw that, I became inconsolable. I was bawling my eyes out. I was under so much pressure that the bank was threatening foreclosure, that they were going to send the home to special asset services. And we were 2 months, late on the loan becoming due. And I was about to leave, and I was headed to his door, and he stops me and he goes, "Hey, don't worry about that interest rate. It's just a technicality." And we didn't know what to do. We felt like we had to sign it or we were going to lose the home. And so we signed it, and then Aaron had to sign. So I got Aaron out of the car, and then Aaron signed it too, and then they released the lien.
And so, Jordan, on June 14th, 2018, was it your understanding that the builder was claiming that he was owed $61,500 on top of the 507, on top of the 56,750, on top of the value of the 1-year-old Lexus car that you delivered to him?
Yes.
And did you ever see, even to this point, any documentation as of June 14th, 2018, that shows that those numbers were real and had a basis?
No.
Jordan, when you said a little while ago that you were under a lot of pressure, did the matter of the check that was dishonored, the $14,500 check, did that come up in the discussions that you had at Sammy El Chami's house?
No, I think he he tried to put the check in even after that. So it was after.
So can you, when you mention special loan servicing, can you explain to Judge Hoffman the basis of your information that your construction loan was either about to go into foreclosure or was in construction loan servicing?
Yeah, so we had a construction loan. We filed an extension. The due date was April 5th, 2018, and the bank wanted the loan off their books, and so we were taking too long, and the president Paramal, who you'll hear from probably, he's calling me and he says, Jordan, if you don't get out of this loan, we're about to send this to special asset services, which is foreclosure hearings, like to start that process. And so I probably had, he probably called me 3 times about that, just from, April 5th to what was, mid-June type of thing.
And Jordan, did Sammy make any comments or predictions or statements about what would happen if you didn't sign the document that he put in front of you, this promissory note?
I don't recall.
Okay. Now, what was your financial circumstance, your family's liquid asset, in rough numbers, not an exact approximation? What were your finances at the time that you attended that meeting on June 14th, 2018?
Your Honor, asked and answered. I think we've been over his financial condition at each point in time.
We've not covered.
Sustained. Let's move on.
Okay. So Jordan, did Versailles ever loan you $61,500 acting as a lender with you as the borrower?
No.
They ever loaned $61,500 to you and your wife?
No.
When Sam El Chami contacted you and he was upset about the $14,500 check not clearing, did he tell you what he intended to use that money for?
He put in a text that he was upset because he was paying for a vacation in some resort somewhere.
Okay, let's look at P20. Your Honor, this is going to take me a bit, but it's really one of the last topics that I have. I don't know if.
So you're almost done. Let's go ahead and finish with his direct, and then we'll do Ms. Pettick's close in the morning.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What I meant to say is not that I'm almost done, but that I'm switching to a separate topic that's going to take a while.
So
now on damages. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay, then let's do this. Let's go ahead and break for the evening, and we'll reconvene at 9 o'clock on the same Zoom link.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, guys. Tony, I need to talk to you real quick, so you stay on. Everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, Rhonda, stay on as well. Oh, well, too late. Bye, guys. So you need to get off. There we go. Hey, did you, oops, let me turn this off real quick.